Hi, welcome to the Get Ready with God podcast. My name is Julie Taylor and I am your host, and I am not God. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I'm not even a scriptorian. I'm literally just a girl sitting in front of a microphone, hoping God is real. The Get Ready with God podcast is the daily devotional podcast to help you see divinity in every day. I'd like this community to weigh in because the people who listen to this podcast are elite, are my favorite of all the people that I engage with. And I'm working on some new merch and I have my ideas. I'm wearing my merch right now, my last merch. I'm a little bored with this design. It's more fun to believe is always going to be a tagline, but do we really need another shirt that says it? I don't know. I think we might take a break from that and wait for the book launch. Do we want more hoping God is real? Do we want actual get ready with God like swag? I'd love to hear from you. Message me on Instagram. Tell me what merch you want, need, hope, and dream of. I just want you to be cozy and I want it to be cool and cozy. It is a blizzard outside right now, which is my number one favorite weather. So I'm feeling like it's a warm hug from the divine. This is my divinity in the day. And you know what? I really needed it because I've been in a really bad mood all day. I've been fighting a really bad mood. And it's so embarrassing to be in a bad mood when you're a grown up because it's like pull it together and manage your emotions, you know? But sometimes it is so tricky to pull yourself out of it. And then you just keep getting like triggered back into it. It is my birthday this week. And I tend to be in a really depressed mood on my birthday because I'm nothing if not insufferable and not fun at parties. Okay. Welcome to the podcast today. I want to talk today about relationships, specifically parenting relationships. And so I've been talking to some people and I've realized that viewing divinity, like viewing God as like heavenly parents, like a mother and a father or a parental figure, is really triggering for people who have terrible parents, abusive parents, really hard experiences because it's like hard to imagine what like a loving parent might be like, or how to be cared for, or, you know, all those deficiencies that we've had in our own like earthly human relationships with maybe our parents kind of threaten our ability to understand and accept and create an idea of divinity that feels safe and worth building, really. And I don't know, obviously, your background, so I can't speak to like your specific issues, and maybe this isn't an issue at all, but it's made me think a lot about how I very comfortably have always imagined divinity as kind of the perfect parent. Like if a parent was perfect, that would be God. But I think that's where when we've been taught that God is to be feared or is controlling or uses shame, we put that on God because of certain theologies or doctrines that we were maybe taught. And also because we have human relationships where those flawed humans, we use that against each other. We use shame in our own relationships. We use control. We use fear because that is what we do as humans. And so that combination of theology, doctrine, teachings, and our own experience can create this scary relationship with divinity that's really hard to connect to and really hard to want to connect to, because if that's who God is, then why do I want to believe in that? And why do I want to engage with that? And why would I care to invest or sacrifice even for that relationship? And so I guess I want to invite you to come on a journey with me where you imagine divinity to be the perfect parent and think of things that a perfect parent would do and how a perfect parent would love you, how a perfect parent would trust you, would take care of you, would raise you. That's kind of how I view divinity. And as I've become a parent myself, I use how God parents me as the perfect example of if I was perfect, this is how I would treat my children. Again, I am human and not perfect. So my kids are not getting the perfect experience, but that's kind of like always the goal. And so when I have questions about parenting, I often look to my relationship with the divine and kind of see what's been patterned for me, what experience I have, and what's been taught to me through my own lived experience with God. Because I do feel like my own lived experience has been my greatest teacher, and like the thing that bonds me to divinity the most is like how I actually personally, individually feel about how God feels about me personally. So I can listen to like a sermon and learn from other people, and I can read sacred texts and gain, but it all to me comes through the funnel of what does it mean about my relationship with divinity? And you know that's really a major push of this whole podcast, is to help you connect personally with divinity. So one of the things that I've been thinking about with this specifically this last week is that people love to say that motherhood is it's not a role, it's a relationship. Is that right? Is that what people like to say? Anyways, that's like a narrative that I've seen that I know has helped a lot of people of viewing motherhood as a relationship. The thing, though, that I think about motherhood is that the parent-child relationship is the only relationship that is not reciprocal, meaning I don't think my kids owe me anything, and I think I owe them everything. And you don't have to agree with me on this. And I think as like when you have adult children, as children get older, they owe you the same thing that we all owe each other, right? Respect and to treat each other well. However, I do think it's a unique relationship in which my kids don't actually owe me love even. I hope that I hope all these things, right? I hope my kids call me. I hope my kids want to talk to me. I hope my kids love me back. I hope my kids do all of the things, right? But I'm not entitled to that. I'm not entitled to their love, their attention, their communication, but they are entitled to mine. And so I've watched kind of myself as my kids get older and those around me with adult kids kind of get caught in this trap of expecting our kids to reciprocate the sacrifice that we make for them or reciprocate the love and the attention and the communication that we have for them. And I just don't think that's how it works. And so especially like teen kids, you take a beating. You really you are their laboratory for learning. And they test boundaries and they do things that make it really challenging to just rally and love and rally and love. But if I model myself after what I've experienced with divine parents, that is what they do. God never leaves. I leave. I question. I doubt. I choose not to believe. I antagonize. I criticize. But God never leaves. Me viewing motherhood as not reciprocal has helped me a lot because I really do believe that it is my job to sacrifice and care and love them, no matter what. Obviously, there's nuance to this conversation, okay? But actually, in my opinion, not a lot of nuance. I think the nuance comes in what does loving look like? What does caring look like in different situations? That's the nuance. That's where there's like different situations. But I do think it's pretty much across the board of it is my job. They are entitled to my love and care and sacrifice. They're entitled to it. I made that decision when I brought them into this world. I am not entitled to theirs. And so if I'm always living waiting for them to reciprocate, I'm going to be disappointed every time. And it's not a fair expectation to put on our kids. And I have seen that modeled by divinity. And that's why I'm bringing this up. Motherhood is not a reciprocal relationship. And I actually don't think that my relationship with God is either. I think that it's beautiful when I'm able to worship and serve and give back and choose to follow and align my will with God and to believe and live that way. I think that's beautiful and celebrated. I also don't feel like God feels entitled to it. And I don't feel like God demands it. And I don't feel like God requires it for me to have worth, value, and to be loved by divinity. That has not been my experience. I'm not speaking doctrinally. I have nothing to back this up other than my own lived experience. And I believe that God never leaves, always loves, and will always care for me, regardless of what I do in return. Some have labeled this as unconditional love, and I think unconditional love can be very confusing because of that nuance we mentioned earlier, where love can look a lot of different ways. The loving action sometimes can be to send someone to rehab, right? The loving action can be to set a boundary with someone. And so unconditional love doesn't mean that you're a punching bag who just takes it and takes it and takes it. However, in the parent-child relationship, we do take more than we should or would in any other relationship, and I think that's warranted. Unconditional love is also not exempt from natural consequences. So you can love someone unconditionally and they still fall victim to like the natural consequences of their actions. Anyway, it's a topic I could talk about forever, but I just invite you to kind of explore in your experience outside of maybe what you've been taught or what's been like put on you or what you've put on God. to really explore what God has actually taught you about that relationship between you and divinity. What have you actually experienced? What have you actually learned there? Just try, you can try my belief on. You don't have to agree with me, but what does it feel like to explore your relationship with God if you see it as not reciprocal? Can you really get to a place where you believe your worth and value do not change and that God stays, even when you're not reciprocating? I don't know, put it in your pipe, smoke it. Let me know. And let me know about the merch. Send me a message. Love you. Bye.